Give me 10 minutes and a pen, and I will help you regulate your nervous system. Not by fixing your mindset, not by forcing calm, but by using gentle, creative tools that speak directly to the part of you that's been trying to protect you all along. Because your nervous system doesn't need perfection, it needs safety. And one of the fastest ways to signal safety, a pen in your hand. You don't need to be a writer. You don't need to be artistic. You just need a little space and a willingness to explore. Welcome to the Building Resilience Podcast, episode 240, Creatively Regulate Your Nervous System in Under 10 Minutes. Welcome to Building Resilience, a podcast where theory, practical strategies, and inspiring stories show you how to unlock your best life. I'm your host, Leah Davidson. As a certified life coach, speech-language pathologist, and nervous system resilience expert, it is my mission to teach you how to be more resilient to life's adversities. I will show you how to manage your mind, befriend your nervous system, process your emotions, and even eliminate stress. It's time to do more than just survive. It's time to thrive. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Today's episode is focusing on something super simple, but pretty powerful. I'm going to walk you through 3 nervous system tools that you can do with just a pen and a few minutes. They're backed by science. They're designed to help you shift out of survival mode and back into connection with your body, with your breath, and of course, your brilliant little self. Now, these are the exact kind of tools that we use inside the Nervous System Journaling Club, where we don't just learn about regulation, we're practicing it. So if you haven't joined us yet, what's stopping you? It's an amazing, creative, supportive space where you can connect with other people. You learn some great tools. We've got some good classes. It's super affordable, especially when you see what you get. And I keep adding to it. So I'll drop the link in the show notes. So I wanted to make this episode very, very practical, and I hope it will make sense if you're listening to it. We're going to focus on 3 simple tools or activities that you can just do in a few minutes. I know people are always asking for different ways to regulate, and I can't tell you exactly what's going to work for you. That's why I try to give you as many options as possible, but I can say try them out. See what happens. If it sparks some other ideas that maybe are going to resonate more with you, that's great. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a visual nervous system check-in using doodles. We're going to do a journaling prompt that will help you shift your story. And then we're going to use a regulation tool that uses simple, repetitive drawing patterns to help settle your system. And you can do them all together in a row or just try one. There's no right or wrong here. All the experimentation that you can do is going to help you reconnect to yourself. So the first one is really trying to doodle your nervous system state. So we're going to start by drawing 3 shapes and one to represent each of the nervous system states, the main nervous system states. So the first one you're going to draw is one that represents what I call team hyper. That is with that hyper arouse, lots and lots of energy and spinning, that fight or flight stage. So you might draw things like jagged lines or bursts or spins or spikes or things that are really, really sharp and probably really condensed scribbles. So the next state is what I call team hypo, and this is more representative of a shutdown state, so lower energy. So the doodles you're going to draw, maybe they're just going to be lacking definition, so more of like a blob. It's going to be something very faint. Maybe it's something very droopy, something that's almost invisible, barely there. And then lastly, what I call the zone of resilience, which is your safe state. This is where you can have lots of smooth curves and gentle loops or waves or hearts. Now, once you've got these 3 team icons, I want you to just pause and ask, which one feels closest to where I am right now in this moment? And can I stay with it a moment longer and expand it? And so go to that zone, and then you can add in colors, you can add in movement, you can add in textures, you can even add in words if they come to you. And you might shade things in with darker scribbles if it feels heavy, or kind of add lots of arrows or spinning if you feel like energy is bouncing around. So there are different ways that you can play with it. You can turn that state into a character or a shape with a face or a voice. You can doodle a before after version if you want to see how you wish you feel beside how you do feel. You can add grounding elements like rocks or roots or anchors to give the drawing a little bit more containment. I love using colors like red and orange for intensity, or blue or gray for low energy, or green and yellow for something that is more regulated. And I also like including words. So I will write emotion words or a phrase, maybe inside a shape, like I feel tight or foggy or tense. Now, for me, also when I'm regulated, I love to draw like spirals or flower like loops or little flowers or hearts. Sometimes I'll draw like hearts all over a page, fill up a whole page. When I'm in more of a fight or flight, that's where my lines are going to get more sort of fast and sharp and cluttered, and I might do a lot of spinning. I may press down harder. I may use like a thicker black marker. And when I'm in shutdown, sometimes it's sort of like a light use of a pencil, and maybe I'll even smudge the pencil. So play around with this type of activity. Why does something like this help? Well, you're kind of giving shape to something that often lives in your body or your brain that doesn't have much definition. And so you are putting it down so you have a representation on paper. The second thing is you're bypassing things like perfectionism, and you're leaning into just the process of getting the energy out. And then thirdly, you're creating a visual map of your internal world. And that is a huge first step towards regulating. Even if you just make a few marks, that counts. It's like a nonverbal check-in. It's a quiet way of saying, this is where I am, and that's okay. Now, I actually have a workshop that I did called It's Not Just Your Thoughts, It's Your Nervous System with a Creative Twist. Maybe you've taken it, maybe you haven't. The link will be in the show notes. I do them live every once in a while, but if there isn't one that's coming up live, then there is a replay that's available of the last one that I did. And in this workshop, I walk you through the different states, and we do doodles around the different states. So if this is something that's of interest to you, then make sure you check the show notes. You can sign up for that workshop, and it's totally free. All right, now the second tool I want to invite you to try is what I call the What Now journaling prompt. When you are dysregulated, your brain tends to spiral into future focused fear. So it will ask questions like, well, what if I fail? What if this never changes? What if I'm doing it wrong? So this prompt helps shift you out of this panic loop that you get yourself in and into the present moment. So grab a piece of paper, open up your journal, pull up your laptop, and at the top of the page, you're going to write, instead of what if, what now? And then I want you to let it flow. What's happening right now? What's actually true in this moment? What's one tiny thing that feels supportive? Now, why does this work? It's just a tiny shift of words getting your brain set onto another pathway. Well, what happens is it shifts your attention from anticipation, which can be very activating for the nervous system. It activates the sympathetic system, that team hyper, to more of action, which engages that prefrontal cortex, that higher level CEO, which is where we have access to her when we're in more of a safe state. It also helps reorient your brain from problem to presence. And it restores your agency. You have choice, which is a key component of trauma recovery and emotional regulation. Now, I've used this technique from everything from not being able to sleep to overwhelm in my business. It doesn't make all the stress disappear, but it helps me come back to what I can choose right now and reminding me that there is choice. And sometimes even one sentence is enough. You're reminding your nervous system, I have options, I have support. Now, if the what now feels like a little too far away, we can try to shift from what if to even if. So you can write this instead. Even if blank happens, I can still blank. So even if I don't have it all figured out, I can still breathe and take one step. Even if I'm scared, I can still show up with kindness. Even if it's messy, I can still move forward. So, again, the small reframe can anchor you into possibility and self compassion without pretending that things are totally fine. It's not toxic positivity, it's nervous system informed courage. So, the third tool is what I'll call regulation loops. It's a repetitive pattern doodle. Very simple, and maybe you use some of this repetitive pattern when we talked about tool number one. But I just want you to pick a shape and just repeat it on the page. Now, in the Nervous System Journaling Club, every single week we do a doodling challenge. It's a doodle I invite you to do. It's to help you learn to doodle, to get comfortable with doodling, to explore different ways to doodle. And one of my favorite doodling activities is anything to do with shapes and patterns. It seems to be an activity that many people like. So circles or loops or spirals or zigzags or grids or lines, it really doesn't matter. And some people use colors or just black pen. I love using like a thin black Sharpie pen. You can fill the space in or you can leave a lot of white space. The idea is just to let your pen move slowly, repetitively, without thinking. What you're doing is you're creating rhythm and predictability, which are two very regulating cues for your nervous system. Why is that? Well, because repetition equals safety. The brain and body love patterns because they can signal control and reduce some unpredictability. And they are also very grounding when we're engaging in this pattern making. So there is some proprioceptive input. The act of drawing provides sensory feedback that helps anchor you in your body. And then there's the visual flow, which causes more of that parasympathetic shift, getting into rest and digest, getting into that zone of resilience. And watching your own patterns on the page can be really soothing, kind of like watching waves come in or watching clouds in the sky. Now, I like to use this one when I'm feeling overstimulated or even when I'm kind of feeling blah, kind of flat. Just drawing these loops or spirals for a couple of minutes helps me to get out of my brain into my body for a moment. Now, it's important to remember we're not trying to create art here. You're actually just practicing containment. You're giving your nervous system a gentle structure to rest inside. You're not trying to make anything beautiful or perfect when you doodle or journal. You're giving your nervous system a safe, contained space to express what it's holding. And containment is really about creating a boundary or a frame, like a sandbox or container for big emotions, for stress, for energy. So that when things feel chaotic or overwhelming inside, having a small structured way to express them, like drawing inside a shape or journaling for 5 minutes or doodling on a page, it gives your system something to lean on. And it tells your body there's a place for this. I don't have to hold it all alone. I have a container to do that. So it really is also about co-regulation with the page and not just creativity. I know it sounds funny. Can we co-regulate with a page? But that's exactly what is happening. We're getting feedback and we're getting support from what we put on the page. You're saying to your system, this is space for you. It's safe for you to feel here, to process here, and to just be here. So these tools, they're not about performance. You don't also have to feel better right away. You don't have to journal something profound. You don't have to be calm even for this to work. Every time you pick up a pen and you meet your nervous system with curiosity, you are building capacity and you're showing up with a little bit more kindness to yourself instead of that intensity or control. And that is what changes everything. So if you want more creative support like this, if you want a container like this, if you want more journal prompts and doodle practices and nervous system education and an incredible supportive and compassionate community, then come check out the Nervous System Journaling Club. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Building Resilience podcast. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about managing stress, building resilience, and leading a more purposeful life, then make sure we're connected on Instagram and Facebook at Leah Davidson Life Coaching. You can also subscribe to my weekly newsletter at www.leahdavidsonlifecoaching.com/newsletter. Looking forward to connecting.